Hello everyone, Parallel here, and welcome to Star Trek Online. Well, console players, you guys are getting a new event today. The Crystalline Entity Event is starting for Xbox One and PlayStation 4 players. This event will be running from September 29th through October 20th, so a little bit under a month you will have to complete this event. And let me tell you that you want to do this event. You definitely want to participate and get the final reward for this event. In fact, that's what this video will be about. I would like to actually quickly discuss how the event works, in case any of you new console players are not familiar with how these special events work in Star Trek Online. And in particular, I'd like to take a look at the reward itself, because it is a fantastic reward. It is the Crystalline Energy Torpedo. And it is absolutely fantastic. It's a very, very unique torpedo in Star Trek Online for how it works. That's why I'd like to spend a little bit of time just describing the reward itself, and I will actually show it here in actual combat. In fact, I am playing on the PC version right now. I don't have a way to capture from the console right now, and also, honestly, I didn't really get much past the tutorial on my console game. I just went right back to PC. Just too much time invested in this character on the PC to start all over again, but I still think this is a great opportunity for you console players to participate in this event. So let's get down into it, shall we? So the Crystalline Entity Event, the way this works, it's very standard for all of the special events in Star Trek Online, honestly. Usually what you need to do is once you log in, you'll need to go to your Reputations tab. And first of all, you'll have to be level 50, all right? For almost all of these events that require you to complete a reputation project, you need to be level 50 in order to do them. And that's this case here as well. That's a little bit unfortunate, honestly, because I know the game has not been out that long on consoles, and it's very possible a lot of players have not even gotten to level 50 yet, and certainly don't have, topped out gear at this point, which may make the actual queue that you have to run a little bit more difficult on console, but it's still not too bad. You still should be able to complete this, the actual mission that you have to do. It's a PvE queue. And so what I'm going to do is, since I'm playing on the PC version, I can't actually run the queue itself. I can't show you the actual mission itself, but I do have a previous video that I ran when the Crystalline Entity event was running for PC that I recorded, and I will put a link to that video in the description so you can actually see how the queue works itself. There's a few mechanics you should be aware of. It's not too difficult, but you will want to at least understand what is going on there. But in general, what you need to do for all of these events is pretty simple. You come into your Events tab in your Reputation. There's going to be a project here available in the list. You're going to click on one of your open project slots, select the project. Again, you'll have to be going through the menu in the consoles to do this, but you'll select the project, slot it into one of your available project slots, and what you're going to need to do is collect 14 of a particular token. And for the Crystalline Entity, I can't remember what the particular token is for that event, but it'll be a little crystal that you get, and you have to always collect 14 of them. Pretty much the standard for all the events, that you have to collect 14 tokens to complete the project. And then once you complete that project, you can then claim the reward. You can only get one of the tokens per day typically, so basically what you want to do is run the Crystalline Entity queue once per day for 14 days, and you'll get the reward. And usually the events run for more than 14 days, so you have plenty of time. Just in case you miss a day or two, you should have no problem completing the event. Now when you pull up your PvE queue list, the event queues will always be up here in the top in the featured area. So you'll see a featured queue here for Crystalline Entity. You could probably do both the normal or the advanced version. Both of them will give you the daily reward. So if you are having trouble with the advanced version, just play the normal. It should not be too bad, even for a low geared player. Alright, so that's what you need to do to complete the project and claim the reward. Now, let's talk a little bit about the reward itself, and I want to show this in combat and discuss some of the advantages and disadvantages of this reward. All right, so let's take a look at the reward right here. It is the Crystalline Energy Torpedo. You can see I have mine up here upgraded already to Mark 14 Epic, and you can see also the mods you get once you get it up to epic. You do get the accuracy damage that is at Mark 14 epic. You get that last mod. And then you also get accuracy, crit D, and 2 crit H. Honestly, not the best mods in the world. It'd be very nice if you could, if Cryptic had made this all crit D or just all damage. That would be very nice, since this is a special item. Usually special items like this have fixed mods. They're not random rolls like crafted items and whatnot. So these mods are what you get. So let's talk a little bit about this torpedo. Now let's see what it does here, because it is very, very unique. It behaves differently from all other torpedoes. All right. So let's read down here. It says, scientists have weaponized a portion of the crystalline entity's power within an anti-proton torpedo. Right. So here is the thing right here. Crystalline Energy Torpedo does anti-proton damage. That's a little bit odd, right? Every other torpedo in the game does kinetic damage. They all do kinetic damage, except the Crystalline Energy Torpedo does anti-proton damage. That is a little bit strange, isn't it? In fact, that makes this torpedo quite unique, and it makes it very different from other torpedoes, and makes it useful in different builds from other torpedoes as well. And one thing in particular that's unique about this torpedo is, since it does anti-proton damage instead of kinetic damage, it is actually boosted by anti-proton tactical consoles. So you can see here I have tactical vulnerability locators with anti-proton damage on them. These will actually buff this torpedo, the damage of this torpedo. That's very cool. Typically for other torpedoes, all the normal torpedoes out there, you will have to run torpedo consoles in order to buff their damage. In this case, you can run anti-proton consoles to buff the damage. So immediately that makes this torpedo unique, and immediately it makes it fit into a more energy damage oriented build. So if you go with this torpedo, this is something you probably want to use more on a energy damage build, whether you're using beams or cannons, either one. But this fits well into that kind of a build. This torpedo really does not fit very well into your typical, if you're going all out a kinetic torpedo build, with like 3 torps up front, or maybe even 4 torps up front. If you're going for that kind of a build, this torpedo probably would not fit very well. Because to buff the other torpedoes in your build, you do have to be using the torp consoles, and they won't buff this one. And it just doesn't synergize well with a torpedo build, but it does synergize well with an energy damage build, which I think is fantastic, because most of my gearing and upgrading I've done on my characters has always been more towards energy damage. You can see up here with my build, I'm using dual beam banks up front, and then omnidirectionals in the rear. So this torpedo fits really well into this kind of a build. So that is just very unique for a torpedo, and it's very nice to have a torpedo in your arsenal that you can use on an energy build and not have to go like full out with a torpedo build. Because in all honesty, you'll come to realize once you get into the end game and you've upgraded, you have all these buffs to your energy damage, you'll find that your energy damage will highly outscale your kinetic damage, and eventually you get to the point where it's not even worth slotting a torpedo in your build anymore. It's just better to slot all beams or all cannons. And that's where this torpedo comes in. This is I would say one of the only torpedoes, if not the only torpedo, that is actually worth slotting into an energy build. And this also synergizes well with a couple of traits, which I will go into later, that also make it fit very well with an energy build. So that's, that right there I think is enough reason. You definitely want to participate in the event. The reward for the event is this torpedo, but you also get a bunch of dilithium and marks and everything, so it's worth doing the event anyway. Plus you get this torpedo. Even if you can't upgrade it right away, it's just good to have in your arsenal. Later when you get the traits and the ability to take advantage of this, you'll want to have this torpedo. It's a fun torpedo, and you can actually make it work in energy builds. Alright, so what else is there that's advantages for this torpedo? Now, the fact that it's anti-proton damage and not kinetic damage means it will hit for full damage against shields, which is another nice little advantage. So it will hit against, full against shields and hull, and it does solid damage. And in fact, since this is a torpedo, still, it does not actually drain your weapons power during the firing cycle. So by getting rid of one of my 4 beam banks that I would be running, I would actually be draining less power during the firing cycle, keeping my energy, my weapons power higher. So the remaining beams will be doing slightly more damage. So that's a nice, good little synergy right there. It does, it has a good alpha damage. It works incredibly well with torpedo spread, and I will show that as well when I get into combat. Now, another thing that's nice is that having 1 torpedo in here actually makes this really nice on ships that have a lot of tactical seating, so escorts in particular. If you have a lot of tactical seating, sometimes you'll have even an extra useless, quote-unquote useless, tactical slot. You might have like that one lone tactical ensign sitting there, and you already have a tactical team. There's really nothing good to put in that slot. Well, if you have a torpedo, you can always throw a torp spread into that empty slot, and that will, help with your, will help you fill out that, those quote-unquote useless tactical slots. All right, and there are actually some abilities out there that do proc off of using tactical abilities as well. So having an extra tactical ability at your disposal is nice. Sometimes people would even slot, like torp spread into a ship, even if they don't have any torps, just because they want to have the extra proc from activating that tactical ability. So it is nice. It fits well into escorts with a lot of tactical slots. It helps you make use of all of those bridge officer abilities. Let's see, what else? So let's take a look at how this synergizes with some of the traits. Now, in particular, I want to talk about a trait, a Starship Trait. Let's go down here. There's a trait called Supercharged Weapons, all right? Now, this trait, let's read down here. When the trait is slotted, firing a torpedo will provide a stack of the supercharged buff. This buff will provide a boost to your energy weapon damage. And it will also buff your critical hit chance and your crit severity, which is very nice. And it will stack up to 3 times. You can see what it actually does here. Each time you stack up a charged weapons, you will get 10% energy damage. You will get 1.5% crit, and then 6.6% crit severity. And you can stack 3 times. So that's, when you have this fully stacked, that will give you 30% damage. And 4.5 crit chance, pretty good. And then, a good 19.8 crit severity, so almost 20% crit severity. Not too bad, and not too bad at all. So very, very good. Very good buff once you get it stacked up to 3 times. Solid trait. And the fact that this, it requires a torpedo to be shot in order to buff your weapons damage. That makes it ideal to synergize with the Crystalline Energy Torpedo, because that is one of the few torpedoes that actually work on an energy damage based build. So firing the Crystalline Energy Torpedo will actually be probably a pretty massive buff to the rest of your beams you have slotted there, which is very, very nice. Now, to get this trait, just in case you don't know, you actually get this trait off of the Tier 6 ship, the flagship, which is the Star, I believe it's the tactical variant, so it's the Star Tactical, I'm on my Romulan here, so I don't think it's highlighted, unfortunately. It would be the tactical, no, those are the Tactical Star Cruiser, I believe this is it. Let me just double check. Yes, you will get Supercharged Weapons trait. So that's what you need to get, the Tactical Star Cruiser. It's basically the tactical version of the flagship. If you get the flagship bundle, you can get it for Romulans, you can get it for Federation or for KDF, and it will give you that trait. All right, so that's how you get the trait. Now, this trait does also synergize very, very well with Torp Spread. So I definitely want to put a Torp Spread into my build here. I have Torp Spread 2 on one of my tactical officers here. So with that little bit of synergy there, you can actually put together a very solid build using this torpedo. So just, basically to review that, you're going to want to run this torpedo along with your full energy weapons. You can put beams, you can put cannons, doesn't matter. And then you're going to want to run a version of Torp Spread. That's because when you launch the Torp Spread, that will immediately give you the 3 stacks of the Supercharged Weapons trait. So that's the synergy there. It's the Supercharged Weapon, it stacks up to 3 times. If you do a Torp Spread and it launches 3 torpedoes, then boom, you get all this stack right away. All 3 stacks right away, which is perfect. So you run your Supercharged Weapons, you run your Torp Spread, and you run your Crystalline Energy Torpedo, and boom, you got a pretty great little build there. Now, this isn't all perfect. I did run a ISA earlier to parse this out. I haven't actually run this build in a long time, but so I wanted to put it back together here to demonstrate it for console players. And I did do a parse earlier, and the truth is that it's still very, very close between putting in a 4th beam array or dual beam bank compared to how much damage the Crystalline Energy Torpedo does on its own. The Crystalline Energy Torpedo actually parses a little bit under putting another beam array in there. So you do lose a little bit of DPS over putting the beam array in there, but it's harder to calculate now because when you launch this torpedo, because of the trait, it gives you, extra damage and crit severity to your other beam weapons, buffing their damage. So it makes the disparity a little bit bigger. It's a little bit hard to measure exactly if slotting this torpedo gives you more damage than slotting a 4th beam array. So, but, so that's the thing. It is very, very close. But here's the thing. If you just like playing Star Trek and you like playing with, having torpedoes and you like making use of that making use of the Torp Spread, that's really cool. It's just, that's just for fun. It's really fun to launch torpedoes, see them explode. The Torp Spread looks awesome. And you will see when I get into combat, the actual graphical particle effect of the Crystalline Energy Torpedo is very, very cool looking. So, you might give up a very tiny amount of DPS, but you gain a lot of awesome looking effects. So, hey, totally worth it, right? All right, so that is some advice here on this torpedo, and hopefully I've convinced you that you definitely want this. You want to go through the event and get this reward. You want to have it on hand, even if you can't upgrade it right away and all of that stuff. You want to have it. It's just a good reward, and it's a very unique torpedo. This torpedo came out years ago on the PC, and there's still been nothing like it. I thought perhaps Cryptic would release, maybe a Polaron torpedo or something along those lines, but no, they've never done that. This really is a one-of-a-kind torpedo. And, like all of these events, when they are gone, they are gone. You'll never have another chance ever, period, to get this torpedo. In fact, if you have any alts, I'd also recommend it to get it on your alts. Just do this event for as much as you can to get get this on every character, if possible. I understand that might not be possible for console players because it's so early, still in the life cycle, of the game being released on consoles. So you probably don't have many alts. It might even be difficult to even have one character up to level 50 at this point. But you do want to get this torpedo, all right? All right, so enough talk. Let's get into the action, actually show how this torpedo performs. This isn't a full build video. I just wanted to quickly show what I'm running. I am in a Fleet Faeht Intel Warbird Tier 6. And the reason I'm doing this particular ship is because I want to show that you can use this torpedo with the Advanced Battle Cloak. People might not be even familiar with an Advanced Battle Cloak is because so few ships in this game have an Advanced Battle Cloak. So I will show that in action. Fleet Faeht is one of those ships that has the Advanced Battle Cloak. I believe the only other ships, I think on the KDF you can use the Burrell Bird of Prey, and that will have a Enhanced Battle Cloak. And I think the Tavaro also has, the Romulan Tavaro also has the Advanced Battle Cloak. And then the Fleet Faeht has the Enhanced Battle Cloak. Those are I think the only 3 ships. Someone correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe those are the only 3 ships that I know of anyway that have the Enhanced Battle Cloak. And if you are wondering, the Enhanced Battle Cloak lets you fire torpedoes while cloaked. which is pretty awesome. It's more gimmicky than let's go ahead and leave the ship in here, interior here, but it's honestly more of a gimmick than an actual something you want to do. Maybe in PvP it'd be kind of cool, but basically with the enhanced battle cloak, when you launch the torpedo, you will come out of cloak for a very short moment, and then you'll go right back in. It's pretty cool. Your cloak doesn't actually turn off, so you'll right away after firing the torpedo, you'll immediately go back into cloak. And basically, what I'm thinking here, if you've seen, you know, Star Trek 6, Undiscovered Country, basically you're thinking that this is basically how that specially modified bird of prey worked in that movie. Basically, you know, I could fire while cloaked. It would very quickly decloak, shoot its torpedo, and go right back in. It works basically exactly like that. So, very cool enhanced battle cloak. You can see, I'll demonstrate it. That'll be the best way to do it. So let's go ahead and head into Argala System Patrol here, and I will do the demo of the Crystalline Energy Torpedo, and we'll also give it a try with the enhanced battle cloak. All right. And if you're wondering, here is the enhanced battle cloak ability. It's built into the ship. You don't even need a console slot for it. What did we get here this time? Looks like Hirogen. Oh, wonderful. So they get to placate and do all of that good stuff. Okay, so let's do it here. So you can see I decloaked for just a moment. All my torpedoes went out. Let's go ahead and cloak, or decloak, and then bait these guys. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cloak again after I talk to this guy, because he decloaks you if you talk to him earlier. But so there's going to be this group of 4 escorts coming in here, and I'm going to unload on them with a full salvo of the torp spread. I'm going to totally buff it out here. Other nice thing about the enhanced cloak is that you can also activate a gravity well, which I just did right there. And then let's see the torps go. You can see very cool particle effects. That's the full torp spread. And you can see there, it almost one-shot everything that was there. Let's go ahead and decloak and vape that guy. Let's vape that cruiser, and let's vape this battleship over here. Yes, the enhanced battle cloak is pretty ridiculous. The bonus you get for decloaking is pretty awesome. Of course, this is also Romulan ship, and I have the infiltrator buff that gives you even more. In fact, if I were playing this ship correctly, I'd be cloaking after pretty much like every fight to get the decloak bonus. So hopefully you are seeing the Crystalline Energy Torpedoes in action here. For the last spawn, I will go ahead and do another... Oop, I didn't get a spread going there. That's not good. Oh, and I forgot to show you right away. Let's do it here when the last spawn comes in. I want to show that the torp spread gives you all 3 stacks of your supercharged buff. It's very hard to find buffs sometimes. There's supercharged right there, all right? I didn't get that last torp spread out, so I only had 1 stack of it. Let's go ahead and cloak up. And let's go over here. Get into position here for a final salvo. Well, the Benthans are already opening up, but that's going to make them fly around a little bit. But I'm again going to buff up. And hopefully you can see on my bar if you keep an eye on it. You will be able to see all 3 stacks come up right away, right after there. You see how much damage that did by itself. I mean, almost took him out completely by itself. And let's vape this guy real quick. You should see I did supercharge. Where are you? Got icons, so many icons. There it is. 3, Supercharged was there. So you can see one torpedo, one torp spread will give you full 3 stacks of the Supercharged buff. All right. So there you go. That is the Crystalline Energy Torpedo. Very cool looking graphic, especially with the torp spread. Looks pretty amazing. It's a fantastic torpedo. Has some nice synergies with some Starship traits and with torp spread. And in my particular view, I really like to use it on ships with a enhanced battle cloak like the Faeht. Another ship I really like to run it on is the Scimitar. The new Tier 6 Scimitars work very well with this torpedo as well. But you can basically fit it onto any anti-proton build that you have. It even has a nice red color to the torpedo, so it matches very well with the red energy color of anti-proton. So yeah, graphically it looks fantastic. You can see the torp spreads there look very flashy. It has a cool trail after it. It looks very nice. Matches well with the other anti-proton. Performs well with other with standard energy builds. So this is really one of the only torpedoes you can run. Just have one torpedo and then the rest energy weapons on your energy build, and you can actually get away with this without losing, with losing either very minimal DPS or probably a slight increase in DPS if you account for the Supercharged trait. That said, that is a lot of advantages, a lot of really great things about this torpedo. I think the only downside is that it does have a fairly long recharge time. Does it show the recharge? Let's pull up the actual... Yeah, 12-second recharge, a little bit high. Gosh, I can't remember what the recharge is on Neutronic, but for the amount of damage this does, it is a bit high on the recharge side. So I would say that's really the only downside. Other than that, it's pretty much all upsides. I mean, it really is. It's fun to use. It's fun to actually have a ship with torpedoes. For a long time, I just went with full-out beam builds, and I still do use full-out beam builds on many of my ships. But every now and then, it's fun to pull out this Crystalline Torpedo, slot it in, and just go to town and enjoy the awesome graphics and enjoy actually firing torpedoes along with your energy beams. It makes it a lot more like like the Canon show, where they're always using a mix of torpedoes and beams, which is it's unfortunate in Star Trek Online. It really doesn't work that way. Typically your builds either focus completely on beams or completely on torpedoes. There's really not much mixing. This torpedo, the Crystalline Energy Torpedo, is really the only one that's a good in a mixed build. So all right, guys, definitely if you're on the console, make sure to participate in the Crystalline Entity Event. Do your 14 runs. Get your Crystalline Energy Torpedo. And really enjoy it on your anti-proton builds. It is a lot of fun. And yeah, good luck out there. I hope you enjoy it. And if you have any questions, let me know. I could try to answer them in the comments. That would be great. And thanks you very much for watching. Bye for now.